Former Japanese Prime Minister Abe was assassinated.
Elon Musk announced he won't be buying Twitter.
Well, feature interview, average American may be unknowingly contributing to the energy crisis through their investment account. Welcome to Wen Kathy Show. I'm your host, Wei Fang.
I'm Kathy Zhang.
Yeah, well, sorry that we're late. We're switching system. That's the reason. It should be a one-time thing. And thank you very much for still being here with us.
Yeah, appreciate your patience with us.
Yeah, within 2 days, really big things happen, right? Just as short as yesterday, and the Prime Minister of the Great Britain, the United Kingdom, quit his job. And then today, the former Prime Minister of Japan, Abe, Shinzo Abe, was assassinated. And a former military officer of basically the self-defense force of Japan, and used his self-made gun to shoot at former President Abe, who was speaking at the rally, and with 2 shots, he fell and passed away a few hours later. And so other things like Elon Musk just announced this afternoon saying that he won't be buying Twitter. So 3 shocking news, and it just happened within 24 hours. And today, Kathy also brought you a in-depth interview, right, about a topic that has to do with you and me, and all of us. So first, let's look at the Japanese Prime Minister Abe's assassination. Okay, as you may have read from the news that it had just happened about 20 hours ago. And today, I won't go through the process because you probably have read enough about it on the news media. I just want to talk to you about what type of person Abe is. Actually, I traveled to Japan about 15 years ago when he was the first prime minister.
In the first term?
For first term, yes, first time. And I got to know about him, and I even met with one of his top advisors, okay, at that time.
So, indeed, what kind of person?
He's very unique. Okay? He has very clear value. Okay, this guy is not a politician, mishmash type of politician. This guy has a clear value and a clear ideology. So he's the leader of the Japanese conservative force. Okay, it's called Liberal Democratic Party. Okay, in other words, it's just like sort of like a Republican Party in this country. And so Japan always faced 2 issues. On one side is China. On the other side is U.S. Okay, do we ally with China or do we ally with the U.S.? Inside post-war, Second World War, among the politicians, there's always this 2, sect, okay, holding different opinion. For the people who want to draw close with China, they view that China share the same cultural root, and China is so close and they are so powerful, such a big population, we really cannot, become an enemy of China, otherwise we'll be in trouble, all right? The other side are told clearly we need to choose our ally according to the value, okay, not who's close or who's far. And then among them, those Abe is one of them. And Abe actually, just like Kennedy or Bush family, okay, Abe's come from a political family that has a long history. And his father was the foreign minister of Japan in the 1980s. But his father is not the most well-known politician. His grandfather on his father's side was really against the war ministry during the Second World War. Okay, at that time the prime minister was Dong Tiao-ying. Okay, and then he was very bold. He was very daring. After the war, he founded the Japanese Progressive Party. What's most well known is his grandfather on the mother's side. Okay, and his name is An Xingjie. Okay, in English is called Nobusuke Kishi. Okay, and he was in the 1997, he became the Prime Minister of Japan. 3 months after he stepped into that role, he visited Taiwan. Okay, so along with the Chiang Kai-shek, he signed a common statement to saying that support Chiang Kai-shek's re-attack and taking back mainland China. All right. He also reformed his cabinet and used a lot of right-wing people that wasn't used, okay, after the war. And he also signed the new U.S. and Japanese security treaty. Okay, and interesting enough, he almost was assassinated. He was attacked and he was hurt. Didn't die.
Okay.
But then afterwards, he stepped away from the political circle, and he passed away at the age of 90. So a very respected politicians in Japan. And the Kishi, okay, his grandfather on the mother's side, has strong influence over Abe. He just basically inherited all his ideas and his ideals from the grandfather. And then in the 1993, he became the first member of the parliament. Okay, and then in 2006, at the age of 52, he became the youngest prime minister of Japan. All right, because Japan, in China and Japan, you don't quite excel through capability. Your age matters a lot in your ranks. Okay, at the age of 52, he became the prime minister. That was already unprecedented. All right, he's also the first prime minister who was born after the war, the Second World War. So he only held that position for 1 year. Okay, afterwards he got this health problem. He has to announce that he resigned. So he went back and tried to recuperate and did well. So 3 years later, he made a strong comeback, and to everybody's surprise, he became the president of the Liberal Democratic Party again. In Japan, there's no prime minister election or president election. Whoever is the president of the ruling party automatically become the prime minister. Okay, so then he became the prime minister in 2012. Since then, he has been on the position for 7 years until he quit again because of the comeback of the health problem. So that's basically his past. He's highly respected by Japanese people. All right. He was the youngest prime minister and have clear ideology and can go with just can hold on to it. So basically, he's very much a Japanese version of a conservative, conservative politician. All right. He really adored Reagan's policy. So he founded his Abe economics. So he used all kinds of ways: monetary policy, financial policy, and structural reform. The whole goal is to revitalize private business. Okay, making sure they have money to invest, have room to grow, have less regulation. So he just achieved good result, and he was loved by most of the Japanese people. So today, the whole Japan is feel very sad, and some of them very angry about this assassination, because assassination really does not happen often in Japan at all.
Yeah, and Daniel was asking, how did the killer know that he was going to be at that location?
Yeah, I didn't investigate, but I'm assuming Japan is sort of just like the U.S. Okay, it's a free country, it's a democratic country, and his itinerary probably is just public.
Yeah, I just I listened to one of the commentators in Japan, who's a Chinese Japanese.
Yeah.
And he said it's just in Japan, it's a lot like in Taiwan, because I saw how Taiwan, when they did those election campaign, they just went on the street,
there's
used
no guard,
microphone, no guard, and they will, the politicians the candidates will shake hands with people, do speeches, and it's a public kind of scheduling, so it's open to the public. So that's probably how the killer,
got close to him. Yeah. The killer is only a 3 or say a 9, just 3 yards from him, and shoot from behind. It's a shame. Okay, it's a shame. And the killer said this. The killer said, "I'm not, killing him because of his political agenda. I'm I want to kill him because of other reason. What is the other reason? So I asked my colleagues, okay, media colleagues in Japan. As I said, what could be the reason? What are the feeling of the people? And he said, people don't feel it's a simple matter. This is lone wolf's issue. There's deeper reason to it. Well, what's the truth? We don't know. We have to stay tuned and find out later.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
And one of, again, that Japanese commentator just reviewed something, may not be directly related, but he noted that because the killer was former, like their kind of National Guard.
Self-defense force.
Yeah, self-defense force. And many of them actually married to Chinese women.
Is that right?
Yeah. So because it's supposed to be like, it's almost like a part of Department of Defense. So a very strong, should be very strong hold in terms of protecting Japan. But so that kind of phenomena actually raised a lot of concerns at that time.
Yeah.
So, but in details, we don't know yet what's really the motivation behind this killer.
Yeah, but President Trump and Biden and basically all the current the former State Secretary Pompeo and the current Secretary of the State, they all expressed sorrow, and the Indian Prime Minister, basically the
whole world.
Those the sympathy was pouring from around the world, and the Japanese people, they're feeling very, very sad at this time, so they really have our sympathy. So he's a great person. So I asked my colleagues, I said, what is the most characteristic about Abe? He said he's the flag, the banner bearer of the conservatism in Japan. So there's no second person besides him. So who will be succeeding him? Nobody knows. But he's someone with a clear position, clear value, and is willing to hold on to it. But he's also how to say? He's a hawk, okay, hawkish politician. But he's a cautious hawk. He does not offend China right there. He still tries to making sure that he can pacify China or the CCP while just carry out his own agenda. And so he established this Quad, right? This four-country, India, Australia, US, and Japan alliance. And so I think the only shortcoming I see in him is like he's a little too cautious sometimes. But anyway, in general, this person is a strong conservative leader and work very, very hard. Okay, his health problem probably came from overworking. But we're very sorry that he passed away. All right.
Yeah, and the Japanese House of, they call it House Councilors election is just going to happen 2 days later. So it's expected that this assassination probably will have important impact on the election results.
Yeah. So I also asked, what would be the result? My colleague said probably will just his party probably will win bigger because of the anger of the people. All right, let's move on to the next shocking news, which is indeed very shocking. Just in this afternoon, Elon Musk just wrote a letter to the board of the Twitter and also submit this to the SEC, saying that I'm not buying Twitter anymore. The reason why, he said, okay, he want to find out what the boss, right, the fake account would be indeed under 5%. He has no way to verify that. Okay, he said sometimes Twitter ignored Elon Musk's requests. Sometimes it rejects them for reasons that appear to be unjustified, and sometimes claim to comply while giving Elon Musk incomplete and unusable information. All right, and then he also said they finally got access to Twitter's fire hose, which is a real-time stream of more than 500 million tweets posted every day. But he said they don't give him the API that is effective enough for him to look into those fire hose and to find out indeed what's the level of the fake accounts. Okay, so finally, as a conclusion, he said, we have given you enough opportunity and you are not responding, so thus we cancel the purchase, we terminated the merger agreement.
Wow. So, and then Twitter just said they're going to sue him, right?
Yeah, within 1 hour, Twitter board said that they're going to follow through the the merger agreement and to finish the deal, and they plan now to take legal action to making sure the agreement will be executed.
So just wonder, like, for Elon Musk, he really meant that he won't buy it, and also my question also is like, did he it's what he planned, or is he really intended to buy it? And
well, that's a $44 billion question, right, Kathy?
yeah.
Anyway, let me give you my analysis, okay?
And our viewers can.
Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah.
What do you think? So first reason, he really doesn't want to buy. Second, he cannot afford it. Okay, he regret. Okay, or indeed he feels he's cheated. The fake account was so terrible, he cannot get the answer. So he's it's justified. Yeah, for him to walk away. He's frustrated enough. What is the reason? Okay, I just want to share with you my reason, because I did a little research about Elon Musk's financial strength. As you know, the stock market slide terribly, and to today, and how much net worth does he still have? As of now, he's still got $224 billion. All right, among them, about half, $110 billion came from the Tesla, still the Tesla. Then he got other things, right, like a SpaceX. SpaceX is worth about $125 billion at this time. How much he own? Kathy, he owns 17% of Tesla.
Okay.
Tesla is very, very big, nearly $1 trillion company, but he only owns like 17%. But for SpaceX, the private company, okay, it's not a public company. We don't know there's no number to its value yet, only estimate. The estimate is $125 billion. He owns 40% of that. Now talking about this boring company, right? This is another futuristic company which just will send a car from one end to the other end at several hundred miles per hour kind of speed. He owns 90% of that. Well, about the Neuralink, I didn't check. He probably owns 90 or even 100% of the Neuralink. Each of those companies will shake the world, remake our future. So in short, he still got $220 billion. Okay, and then the price is $44 billion, right? Clearly, it's only like 20% of his net worth. This is one thing. The second thing is does he feel very hard to spend that $44 billion? Is it too much for him? Let me tell you, 2 years ago, in the year of 2020, how much net worth does he have? Do you know?
How much?
25 billion only.
Okay.
His net worth was $25 billion 2 years ago. Last year, it grew to be 150. This year, at the peak time, it grew to 270. He just made his whole fortune, become the number one rich, the wealthiest people into only two years. Okay, his wealth just ballooned in 2 years. Okay, remember he really got only $25 billion 2 years ago. So those are newfound money. Okay, among them, he take $44 billion to buy something. He clearly can afford it. This is one point of view I have. The second is this: the bank, those several banks, did not back out. They did not say, since the sliding of the Tesla stock, we feel unsafe, we feel unsure, we feel inconfident, we'll yank the money back. No, they did not do that. He still got their money. Okay? So the money is other people's money, using his Tesla's stock as collateral. He's well financed to carry out the purchase still. So besides, today I check his tweets. Right? I want to know whether he's depressed. It's a very, very hard decision. He's walking away. He lost his name. He probably will lose money at the court. But he tweeted a few things that's very funny. Okay, for example, Joe Biden, somebody just posted something saying Joe Biden was reading from the teleprompter, and among the words there's this reminder saying repeat this line. And Joe Biden was reading repeat this line. So somebody make fun of it, and Elon Musk added on saying that whoever controlled the teleprompter is the real president. I hope this video will not be penalized for this. I'm talking about just something that happened. So he's in very light spirit mode. So I don't really think he's walking away, guys. I think he's merely want to use this tactic to depress the buying price so that he can get a bargain. That's my reading. I could be wrong, but let's give it some time. I think what would happen next is Twitter Twitter will be suing him. They're going to fight in the court. It's going to be a lengthy, protracted fight, and Elon Musk will go to Twitter and tell them, you know what, it's going to take however many months to sort this out. In the meantime, the future is cloudy. You cannot hire people. People will be fleeing. It hurts you. It hurt me. Why don't we have a deal? Lower 20%. What do you think?
Okay, so let's see.
Yep. So far, guys, I've been correct in my guessing of Elon Musk's next move. This is my new guess. It could be wrong, but we'll see.
Yeah, he's a good business person. I think it's not impossible that he used this kind of strategy trying to get a more fair price for this purchase, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think? I really want to know, what do you think?
Yeah,
do you think he's really walking away or he's faking to walk away?
Okay.
I want to know your thought. And then we can give ourselves about 1 month. We probably can get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, Jonathan, you said that Twitter won't say how many fake accounts, but the company is valuable because it has so many subscribers. And he continued, Jonathan, you said he's being cheated and now he might get shadow banned.
Okay, Louis, you wrote. Oh, I'm sorry.
Larry said that maybe Kathy could help Elon out with a small check.
No,
I'm not sure how this small check.
Guys, Elon's check. Elon has enough checks. Okay. But Louis wrote that I will take that. Okay, Elon will win in the end. Louis, me too.
ZZZ said they don't have any interest in giving up the control. I'm not sure how this will end.
Yeah, think about it, guys, right? Initially, he wanted to buy Twitter. They don't want to sell. So who are you? Okay, they don't want to sell, right? They resist so hard. Yeah, they pass this poison pill.
Yeah, they wanted to protect whatever they are doing.
Yeah, now they're saying that, you buy it, please, you buy it. And of course, the reason is Twitter's stock price or its value has dropped 30%, okay, compared to April 25th when the merger agreement was announced. But now they want the money. They want the money. So it's very interesting.
I think, just because of this back and forth, Twitter is already being like a lot of the truth being revealed, how they works. And if Elon Musk doesn't buy them,
it's like a piece of trash. So they are being hurt. Okay, they really want to sell themselves, and I think there's a chance for them to sell themselves. There's no second white knight, right? There's no second white knight. The only interested buyer is Elon Musk, and he want to buy it because first reason he love it too much. The second, he know how important public media, social media is, and Twitter is the strongest social media in terms of public opinion. All the opinion leaders are there. Not all. I'm sorry. Many opinion leaders are there. He know the value of that. I don't think he's walking away, but he could use some tactics. All right, so that's the second story. How about we move on to the third one?
All right, so again, the energy crisis and the spike of the gas price. Right?
Yeah,
still,
crazy.
Although in the past, I think the first time that the average gas price reached to $5 is less than a month ago.
Okay.
Yeah, in mid of June, and right now in this couple of days, actually the gas price coming down. So, but it's not actually a good sign because the reason that it's coming down, it's because of the fear of recession. So, but still, we've been talking about why this energy crisis happened, and there are different reasons from different people, right? So the Biden administration has been blaming Putin, Russia, and then also blaming the energy companies for their greediness. On the other hand, a lot of people, especially on the conservative side, are just talking about it is because of Biden administration's policy, right? Just caused the shortage of the domestic oil and gas supply. And then now what we will be talking about is a third opinion. Is average Americans might have been unknowingly contributing to this energy crisis through their investment.
Okay.
So it's curious, right? So this claim was made by a new asset management company called the Strive Asset Management. It's a new company just founded this year in Ohio. And one of the co-founders, he is pretty well known, especially in the conservative world. His name is Vivek Ramaswamy.
Okay.
He's a first generation Indian American. Okay. And he wrote a book called Woke Inc. Inside Corporate America's Social Justice Scam.
Okay.
So Vivek Ramaswamy, he's an entrepreneur, also a political commentator, New York Times best-selling author. His book was well received. His parents actually immigrated from India, and he was born and raised in small town in Ohio. He's very typical kind of first generation Asian kid. Did very well academically, and he was trained as a scientist.
Engineer.
Scientist.
Okay, close enough.
At Harvard.
Yeah, okay.
And also trained as a lawyer in Yale.
All right.
Then he became a hedge fund manager in 20s.
Okay.
He's a very smart guy. And then he founded a multi-million-dollar enterprise, led a biotech company as CEO.
Okay.
However, he himself described him as a traitor.
Trader. Oh, wow.
Okay, so he wrote this book.
Fifth profession.
Yes, he wrote this book, Woke Inc., revealing behind the scene of the corporate boardroom, those 5-star conferences, Ivy League schools, and the secretive nonprofit organizations, and which he described as a new invisible force at work in our economy and cultural life.
Really?
Yeah. So that's about the wokeness.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So then this year he co-founded this Strive Asset Management. So I talked to the head of the corporate governance in his company, Joshua Denhoff. So their view is that through managing Americans' investment money, those largest asset management companies are manipulating, causing the domestic energy crisis. Okay, so just as a background, one of the largest companies, they will be talking about BlackRock and the State Street. They manage a lot of money, right? Let me see, I have some data somewhere. Okay, BlackRock's, according to their own report, they manage nearly 120 million Americans. Money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
And this is just in their iShares products alone. Okay, they have other products. Then Vanguard, they manage $6 trillion in global assets, more than 30 million investors worldwide. Wow. I haven't seen how many in America, but that's a lot. That's as end of 2019. And then, by the way, according to Stripe, BlackRock and the State Street are paid members of the $60 trillion Climate Action 100 Plus network, which represents over 50% of global assets under management and pressures companies to do things which they will be talking about. So without further ado, let's just take a watch of my interview with Justin Denhoff.
Sure. So it's really rather simple, and it's frankly disturbing in its simplicity, right? So what you've got is, again, an ideological cartel of BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard that collectively have assets under management of over $20 trillion. That's larger than the GDP of the United States of America. So that just puts, the financial picture into perspective. And so, again, they have assets under management, meaning it's other people's money. What do they do with that in the energy space? Well, let's look at last year's Exxon Mobil shareholder meeting. With the votes of BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, 3 climate change dissidents were appointed to Exxon's board, essentially with the stated goal of mothballing Exxon. What did Exxon do in the wake of those new board members coming onto the team? Well, they cut production targets going forward. That is, they decided they are going to, pull less oil out of the ground that make their way into the gas pumps for everyday Americans. And so when you enlighten everyday Americans to the fact that your money in a pension fund quite possibly went to helping this energy crisis grow completely out of control, they're of course outraged. A lot of folks just tend to blame, the Biden administration, and believe me, there's plenty of blame to go around when it comes to the actions and the words of the presidential administration right now here in the United States. However, most folks don't realize that BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard also have a hand in the pain they're feeling at the pump. And so our goal at Strive is to really educate the American people why this is happening to you and who the players are that did it, so that we can effectuate change going forward.
So Justin, what you are saying is it just happened in the past year?
It's been going on for quite some time, actually. So BlackRock is the largest of the 3 that I mentioned, between BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. And starting in 2018, they really started putting their thumb on the scales of American corporations to vote in favor of what's known as ESG. That stands for Environment, Social, and Corporate Governance policies in corporate America. They do so in a couple of ways. They do it through, again, I mentioned the shareholder voting. That's very important. But perhaps even more important is the engagement that BlackRock does with corporations. So as one of the largest shareholders of many companies in the S&P 500, they have essentially an open door to engage with businesses to get them to change their behaviors. And in our view, these change behaviors belong more in the political sphere, not in the business sphere, because they're not in the best interest of Exxon. Again, Exxon, what's their mission? I think it's to be the best, oil and gas company in the world, not to put oil and gas back in the ground, but rather, to thrive. And so that's our mission, is to get companies to believe in excellence capitalism again, and to get them to refocus on their mission. So right now, again, BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, as some of the largest shareholders in companies, across the United States of America, they've been doing this for some years, but they're really ramping it up in the last 2 or 3 years, again, to change corporate policy in ways that have nothing to do with the core mission of these companies. I'll give you another example. Last year at the Chevron shareholder meeting, there was another vote on a shareholder proposal that was, supported by BlackRock, telling the company to reduce its Scope 3 emissions. This proposal got more than 50% of the vote. Now, Scope 3 emissions really touch on everything a business not only does itself, but all of the partners and contractors that they engage with in their supply chain and elsewhere. And so, again, how is telling a carbon-based company to reduce all of its carbon across its platforms going to help the company perform better? Of course it's not, but that's not the point.
Justin, I think people would ask if this kind of a policy, won't really serve the purpose or the mission of those energy companies, and probably will affect their bottom line. Why these companies would follow those type of policy?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's partly, it's largely in part because their largest shareholders are driving this change. And so the proxy vote in the United States of America, the corporate ballot, it's a very important vote that a lot of Americans aren't paying attention to. In America, we like to think of elections, coming around every other November or every 4 years in November. But there's thousands of these votes for corporate board members and for shareholder resolutions that are taking place every year that Americans may not be aware of, but they really ought to be, because they're affecting our culture in ways, again, that the everyday Americans, once they're made aware of it, they're outraged by it. And so we think that we can have a very positive effect on American culture generally, not just the business culture, by correcting the corrupt proxy ballot vote. So that's what we're out to do, is to expose the players and the actors that are involved in corrupting the proxy vote. And then through Strive, we're going to work to correct the vote.
In your press release, you mentioned how the invest companies like the BlackRock and the Vanguard, they on one hand are pressing our domestic energy companies to produce less gas and oil, but on the other hand, on their Chinese portfolio, they are doing opposite direction. So can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, the hypocrisy here is, so stunning. You almost have to, clap your hands at how brazen that companies like BlackRock specifically are acting in this sphere. So again, while they take actions that cause Exxon to abandon oil projects, in certain areas across the globe, as one of the largest shareholders of Exxon, well, it just so happens that BlackRock owns something like 6% of PetroChina, who would very happily scoop up any project that Exxon would abandon. And so again, it just needs to be noted, the hypocritical stance that companies like BlackRock and their CEO, Larry Fink, take in the United States of America, and really does economic harm to shareholders of companies such as Exxon and Chevron, while companies such as PetroChina that BlackRock has a huge stake in get to benefit from the actions that he takes in American companies. So it's kind of like a double whammy, if you will, for the American people in that sense. And so again, we just really want to raise the awareness of the American public on, why you're feeling the pain at the pump. And really, you can blame Larry Fink, but come to Strive because we'll help you do something about it.
So Justine, can you then tell our audience how Strive Asset Management will do differently than those big companies?
What we're going to do is we're going to restore the voice and the vote of everyday Americans whose capital right now is locked up in what we like to call an ideological cartel on Wall Street that uses money to politicize corporations rather than telling companies to stay focused on their missions. So that's what Strive is going to do. We believe in the concept of excellence capitalism. And what do I mean by that? We think that, for example, carbon-based companies such as Exxon, Chevron, Conoco, they should be the best, oil and gas companies that they can possibly be by focusing on their mission, by focusing on what we consider the number one stakeholder, and that is their customer. It is not, to serve the interests of, the Larry Finks of the world and their politicized view. If they focused on their customer and being mission driven, perhaps the prices at the pump wouldn't be where they are right now. And so that's why Strive needs to bring that voice and that vote to the asset management world. And we will be launching our first products. We expect to launch our first products, that is, in the third quarter of this year. We encourage folks to come to strivefunds.com to learn about what we're doing, and stay tuned for updates. It's going to be an exciting ride, and we think many everyday Americans will really come to our message. And we may not be for everybody, and that's fine as well. And we're also, just to be very clear, if there's a solar company, we're not anti-solar company. We think they should stay on their mission to be the best solar company they can possibly be the best wind energy company you can possibly be. We just think that there is too much politicization going on, and it's being driven by the largest asset managers out of Manhattan. Strive will be based out of Columbus, the heartbeat of America, Ohio. And so, please come to strivefunds.com to learn more about the exciting opportunities we have going forward. Everyday Americans are suffering right now, and they need an outlet, and they need a new voice, and they need a new vote. And that's where the path that Strive is carving out. We want to be the voice and the vote for everyday Americans, because we know there's real suffering happening across the country, and it doesn't have to be this way. The largest shareholders of these large energy companies in the United States of America are acting in ways that we think, violates, frankly, their fiduciary obligation to the underlying asset holders that they manage the money for. And so we are going to be very clear from day one how we're going to use our voice and our vote in a much different way that aligns with the majority of the American population and the majority of the investment community as well.
And how do you think, how much impact it would have on those companies, and overall how corporations are getting so politicized?
Yeah, we think that there's actually a hunger with inside of corporate America itself too for a change. Right now, again, they're hearing from an ideological cartel that has one, unified voice that's really pressuring them in quite a strong direction. And so we think that there's a hunger for those companies for another voice in the room to change the trajectory of the discussion. And that's our goal at Strive, is to change the trajectory of corporate America, to get politics out of business, because there's a place for politics. It's called state houses and Capitol Hill, right? And that's where a lot of these debates need to be hashed out, not on a corporate proxy ballot.
Anything else you would like our audience to know about?
Just again, stay tuned. We expect to launch our first products in the third quarter of this year, and we hope many Americans will be excited about what we're doing. So come to strivefunds.com, check us out on social media. We're happy to engage.
All right. Thank you, Justin, for coming on.
Thank you, Kathy. Appreciate it.
All right.
So
What do you think? Would you consider giving him a chance? I think many of you, or at least some of us, we deposit our money with Vanguard or BlackRock, right? Mm-hmm. It's such two big investment houses or asset management houses.
yeah, but they, then they become the largest shareholder of those big companies, and they have the leverage to do things that, like one example that Justine mentioned was the shareholder meeting in Exxon. So what he referred to was in 2021, there's a firm called Engine Number One.
Okay.
It's actually a environmental activist firm.
Okay.
They only held like 0.02% of the shares in Exxon, but they actually won two or three seats in Exxon's 12-member board members.
Wow.
The reason is because BlackRock
backed them up,
and Vanguard backed them up. And then, they just clearly said, ExxonMobil, you have to reduce the production of oil and gas, and that's what they did. So
destroy our, backbone companies.
yeah, so I don't know, among our audience, do you know about that already, or it's your first time to hear about that, right? So
yeah, what do you think?
yeah, and I saw, a lot of discussions. Daniel said, I'm surrounded by cornfields, all used for ethanol production, but in your place, a can of corn costs $2. Can you imagine that? Yeah. And Louis said, I always vote the opposite of that board recommends. The system is rigged. Wow, I have to say, Louis, you are very, you're proactive. I don't know how many people are really like voting in those proxy election.
Yeah, the board, you mean? Yeah.
Because like when you see the mail saying it's a proxy voting is going on, a lot of time I just put it away.
Yeah. Well, that's what's happening to our country, but for our job is to call to everybody's attention.
And Louis also suggesting to keep cash at hand, and others keep cash at hand, physical gold and silver, as well as food preparation and other things, right? And James from California in Los Angeles saying that I'm going to close my Vanguard mutual fund account. Things are too scary. Wow. So James, you made this decision after watching this interview. That's right. That's my understanding, right? So yeah, and the other thing is really like as the Strive they pointed out, it's like our fellow Americans are like just kind of being hurt twice. One is as a consumer of the gas, and the other is as an investor.
Yeah.
But in China, the Chinese companies, what they are doing, they are still keep producing those coals, producing those emissions. But BlackRock and Vanguard, they hold those Chinese company portfolios. They don't tell them anything. They don't force them to limit their production or limit their emissions, right?
Yeah, it seems like when the parents are saying that take my kids out of school, take them home, or just go into district and elected a new commissioner, right? The similar thing here. Either take our money back, or go in just vote what we wish should be the board member into the board. So yeah, it's all for us to think about and take action.
Yeah, Louis saying, Kathy, it's likely. It's like voting for our electors. You need to vote on those proxies. Exactly.
Yep.
I think you said exactly right. We not, only vote in the primary and the November election. That's the political election. But right now we realize those proxy vote is also so important.
Yeah.
Right?
And Lucio said it's too late for many people when your account has come down 20, 30, 40%. You are trapped. But it would still be better to sideline your money. Yeah, so you are talking about some reality here. I understand. Okay, so I guess that will all for tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you for staying with us. Well, again, we'll apologize for being late for about 20 minutes.
Yeah,
and appreciate you are still with us.
It's whole totally new studio, new system. So, yeah, but hopefully, this is just a one-time thing. Again, appreciate that and enjoyed just our discussion here. Hope you enjoy too. Don't forget to like and share our video.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, take care.
All right.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.